Hey guys, hope you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Steve. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to why shady American candy stores are taking over the UK. So I came across this video and both the title and the thumbnail definitely jumped out and grabbed my attention. The title basically says that American candy stores are taking over the UK, which honestly doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand in different countries, you're going to have different candy stores that represent other countries because of the novelty of it and whatnot. But I just can't see American candy stores being so prevalent throughout the UK that they would be able to say they were taking over. It just honestly doesn't make a lot of sense. I've now tried, a bit of UK candy, specifically the chocolate, and it's generally hands down better than the US counterpart. Now, that's not to say there aren't certain candies in the US that aren't made in the UK at all, and so people may want these candies, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me why American candy stores would be that popular. And what I find interesting is the thumbnail actually said money laundering with a question mark. And so I'm sitting there thinking that might actually make sense. If there are a ton of American candy stores, it would be interesting. It would be an interesting way to launder money, because I mean, obviously there is novelty around candy and food from other countries. But I've learned enough about the differences in the food quality in the US versus the UK to know that the UK food quality and generally the way they produce their candy and their chocolate tends to be quite a bit better. There's a lot of artificial ingredients that are allowed in American candies that aren't even allowed in UK candy. I know that recently there was an article that come out. I read part of it, but I didn't finish the article that said that they just did some sort of a bust for imported American candies because the ingredients were banned in the UK. And so that is the type of thing we're dealing with American candy, and I can't understand why it would be popular in the UK in general. But I found this line here in the description fascinating. As these expensive, often deserted stores keep appearing all over central London, a place with some of the highest commercial rents in the world. They investigate the murky world of the American candy store. That is wild. The murky world of the American candy store. That's just fascinating. That was really what grabbed my attention mostly when I saw the word shady American candy stores. And then obviously taking over the UK like we just discussed. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. But, like I said, I'm sure there are candies that we have in the US that people in the UK love, but I'm just saying in general, I mean, is there really that much of a need for American candy shops in the UK? I mean, personally, I look forward to visiting the British and Irish candy shops when I come overseas. I'm sure that if you go up in Scotland, they have some amazing local candy shops. Or if you go into Wales, they have some really cool candy shops. All over the UK and Ireland, you guys probably have really cool local candy shops. And so, I mean, outside of some novelty, maybe in some big, urban areas like London, what would be the need for a bunch of American candy shops? I don't know, guys. You tell me. Am I missing something here? I guess we'll find out in this video. So let's go ahead and jump in here and check out why shady American candy stores are taking over the UK.
At a minimum, there was serious tax dodging going on.
I'm telling you, don't put comfort. I told you nicely, eh?
This is Oxford Street, a 1.5 mile long shopping street that cuts the famous West End almost in half, known globally for its flagship retail stores like Selfridges, HMV, and Topshop, but for tourists and shoppers returning to London as it emerges from the pandemic, there has been a curious change. Enter the American candy store. The sudden proliferation of these stores has taken many people by surprise, causing a stir online.
If you live in London or you've ever visited, you've probably seen stores like these.
And they're all open, as if there's some kind of essential service.
with an American candy shop every 250 meters, if not less, now punctuating a street with some of the most expensive...
What? What? Every 250 meters, there's an American candy store? Goodness. Wow. This is insane. I obviously thought maybe there would be, one American candy store or two or something like that, but I didn't expect this many. I've already seen, I don't know, I think they've shown like 6 or 7 just in this small period of time here.
Real estate in the world. People have become curious as to how these stores, many of which often appear completely deserted, are making enough money to pay the bills.
Well, I mean, they all sell American-style sweets like Oreos and Jolly Ranchers, and they're all very colorful and play like blaring loud music. But the weird thing about them is they all look really, really similar.
We decided to go and see what the shoppers think.
Every one that we've passed looks exactly the same, the entrance.
I mean, I'm from America. It looks like they're full of American kind of candy and stuff like that.
I've actually heard that there's something to do with money laundering. I don't know if that's actually a thing.
No, I feel like they're just wasting their money. I feel like all the stuff that over there, they've expired.
The pace of change has been dramatic, with many of these seemingly independent stores.
What? Dude, this is insane. Like, I don't understand. I mean, obviously, I can imagine they would be dead. I mean, like, I personally wouldn't want most of these items, really. Like, I mean, I guess there's obviously novelty to things like this, right? But yeah, it is interesting how so many, they're literally saying there's this many American candy stores in such a small area in London, for example. I don't know if they're in other parts of the country or whatnot, but like, we're talking about London here. I mean, how in the world would they all pay their bills and whatnot? Because this is supposedly, based off what they were just saying, the high dollar stores that are on this Oxford Street. I'm sure the rents are through the roof, because I already know London rents are through the roof in general. So if this is one of the more expensive streets, I think that's what he's getting at, then how in the world would they pay their bills if they're dead like this? That doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
Cropping up in sites previously home to some of the UK's biggest companies.
More and more are popping up, and if you're walking down Oxford Street, it's very different than it was, say, 10 years ago, when it was full of Topshop and HMV, and that's kind of where I first kind of realised it, and it's just been such a topic of conversation, in the pub and stuff.
We're just approaching the HMV site here, which only just has become a candy store.
This was such an iconic store, and you can still see the famous little dog looking into the gramophone.
Look at this really cheap signage, tatty looking offering inside. This is not adding to the attraction of Oxford Street.
Hold on, guys. Is this 2 American candy stores side by side, or is that the same? That looks like 2 different candy stores, or maybe it's the same one. That's crazy if that's 2 side by side. It can't be, but the signs look a little bit different. They're similar, but they look different. So what was this one on the left here? Hold on. American Sweets and Souvenirs. Is that what this says? I think that's what this says. An American Candy. I can't tell if that's the same one or not, but this is wild. One thing I will say is it doesn't surprise me that a music store goes out of business. They probably sold CDs and whatnot, but the fact they would replace it with an American candy store is kind of weird. But I mean, CDs and stuff aren't really being sold, all that much anymore. People aren't buying them because of MP3s and stuff, but still, this is a weird thing to replace the store with. All right.
Adding to the attraction of Oxford Street.
But I feel like there's just too many of this sweet shop. They should put up a clothes shop, you get what I'm trying to say? There's more sweet than clothes, right? There's more sweet than clothes, right?
Yeah, there is. It's a bag shop, isn't it? Like, there's other stuff going on.
Money laundering, I think they're owned by like drug dealers and that.
Oh, yeah.
This is interesting. So many people are saying it's got to be money laundering. I'm beginning to think that too, because it just doesn't seem like no one's there. Like who is going to go in these stores and spend, 17 pounds for a box of Twinkies? Now, granted, I understand when you import stuff, there's going to be import taxes and all that, and it's going to raise the price of what you would resell for, right? But like, still, That seems a little over the top. But a question I had, guys, is like, you wouldn't have to go to a store like this to get Oreos, for example, would you? I'm sure they probably sell Oreos in some other stores that aren't just American candy stores, or something, you know, similar to a Twinkie or some of these other things that may be based in America. I'm sure that you can probably get some of these in regular shops like a Tesco or something. Am I wrong there? Maybe even if it's not the Oreo brand, for example, but it's a similar type of cookie that is just a British brand. I'm sure a British brand has made things like Oreos and Twinkies and stuff like that. So it just, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm beginning to think, yeah. I mean, what do you guys think? You think this is money laundering or something like that? It has to be. Well, like, it doesn't make sense otherwise.
That's what I heard anyway.
Oh, when did you hear that?
Just a mate. You know how these things go around.
It's weird. A lot of them. I mean, I don't understand how they can afford the storefronts or anything like that.
How are these stores making any money? Another similar phenomenon may hold the key. A significant number of these premises used to be home to souvenir shops that have already been investigated by the private eye in 2019.
So, have you actually been into one of these shops?
Oh, I've been to loads of them, yeah. We did discover that, at a minimum, there was serious tax dodging going on. We discovered that some of the bigger shops weren't paying VAT on their supplies as they should have done.
How do they not, though?
Actually had a recorded conversation from somebody involved in the business saying that this was not clean money coming in from Afghanistan. Most of the shops were run by Afghan nationals, but we couldn't prove it. We never really proved that.
So are these American candy stores doing the same thing? It's hard to say, but according to an investigation by Time Out magazine, who spoke to Westminster Council, these shops are operated under a complex chain of leases, subleases, and licenses, which are usually highly questionable. Westminster Trading Standards say they're investigating complaints, while the council says it knows there's a problem.
If a premises is empty, then the owner of that premises is still liable for business rates. But clearly, if you have another occupier, then the new occupier is liable for business rates.
You are now, in fact, owed millions of pounds.
We are. While it's particularly bad here, it's happening across other areas of Westminster. It's something we've been talking to government about. Something needs to be done.
Whenever it tries to bring cases
Candy
to court,
world.
council says the businesses are often dissolved quickly. But it isn't just business rates.
Westminster Council believes the properties may also be used to commit other civil or criminal offences. Either way, it's hard to keep up. One of these stores, American Food Shop, even mysteriously changed hands to a 21-year-old owner in May 2020.
Wow.
For just 1 month.
Many of the companies liquidated and re-established so quickly and so often that they never even file accounts with Companies House.
The vast majority of Westminster's business rates is redistributed across the country. So, I mean, we've got about a £5 million debt at the moment. That's £5 million that won't get redistributed across the country.
So far, the councils say the companies behind these stores have been uncooperative and often provide them with the details of shell companies, or even outright false information.
The bottom line is to try and follow the money trail.
As the country looks
which is probably pretty hard.
Recession, we're likely to see more high street brands go under or retreat online. And as landlords find it increasingly difficult to let out properties to more desirable tenants, next time you go into one of these stores and consider paying £16 for a box of brightly coloured cereal, think about what you might be buying into. One more thing that I've just remembered is that on the first day of filming, we were confronted by, some of the shop owners. And on the second day of filming, when we were on the complete other side of Oxford Street, these same guys actually walked by and winked at us. I pulled out my phone camera, I started filming them, and the guy actually ran inside a competing, well, what seems to be a competing shop. Sometimes we'd be walking down Oxford Street and we'd turn around and we'd see, people taking pictures of us or caught on the phone, with black sunglasses on.
What?
And At one point, a guy literally hid behind a tree. It seems
That's
they're all
weird.
in the same WhatsApp group chat or something. You know, they're all in communication with each other. There's something very deeply wrong here.
Right, get the fuck out of my face. Yeah, you yelled it from here, on the other side. It's on your face.
All right, guys. This, I can understand why they titled this Shady. This definitely seems shady. Now, you know, this video doesn't prove that it's money laundering, but it definitely makes it makes the case that something isn't right here. And money laundering does make sense for something like this. I gotta say, guys, because I mean, who's shopping here? It sounds like no one is going and buying stuff from these places, right? I mean, like I said, they're always dead. Let me know, guys, if you've been to any of these candy stores, are they generally busy? Or are they, like they say here, are they dead? Based off what we see here, it seems like no one's buying this stuff. And I really don't blame it. I don't want this stuff, you know, so I can't imagine that many British people want this stuff. You guys got better stuff than this, you know, and you know it. But I will say there are certain things that are sold in America, candy-wise, that you probably can't normally get in the U.S., I mean, in the UK very easily, that you might like, that you tried, that you don't have really a British version of. So I can understand that, you know, I can understand there are certain things, you know, but for the most part, like, I can't imagine, for example, someone going in one of these candy shops to buy American chocolate. Why? Your chocolate is so much better. It just is, you know, and some of the other sugary sweet stuff, like I said at the beginning of this video, is just better as well. You know, American stuff tends to be filled with artificial colors and preservatives and just a lot of stuff that's even banned in the UK and throughout Europe. And so, I don't know. I wouldn't want that stuff, you know, so I can only imagine that most of you guys in the UK wouldn't want that stuff either. But who knows? The novelty aspect is something I can see here. But novelty, you know, can only take a store so far. I mean, I guess in a place like London, you know, an American candy shop, one American candy shop for the novelty aspect could actually do pretty well. But I can't imagine if you've got bunches of them that all of them would do well. It just doesn't make sense. But anyways, guys, let me know your opinion about this. Do you think these stores are money laundering, or do you think there's something else going on, or do you think they're legit and they're just misrepresented or something like that? I'd be curious to find out more about this. This is fascinating. And I'd really like to find out how many American candy shops are, number one, in London. And then I'd like to see, do you have throughout other parts of the UK or even in Ireland, are there like areas where there are lots of American candy shops in a small, area, sort of like there is on this Oxford Street in London, supposedly. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me on my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Till next time, guys. Peace.